Okay, we had the new parts come through from the factory. We'll get them on the car ahead of FP1.
Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to the episode of my F1 2018 career mode, episode number 152 today for the Spanish Grand Prix in Season 8. If you guys did miss the previous one, uploaded a few days ago at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. We're heading to Catalonia, then we have 3 upgrades on the car, and we're making some steady progress, but Mercedes are also upgrading with us, along with Renault, you can see, with a minor upgrade there as well. So finally, a few of the teams now are kind of getting resource points together and starting to upgrade with us. So the relative upgrading compared to other teams for us might slow down a little bit now. Of course, we even get to the end of the development we can even do, so that will slow down anyway naturally, but obviously it's been quite an exponential rise since the start of the season. We're going to Catalonia. It always has been quite a strong track for myself and my teammate, really, as it's obviously a 2x2 sort of track where the car is really doing most of the heavy lifting compared to the driver, and so I'm looking forward to this, and I think our car can perform quite well around here with a decent chassis under it. So working our way through then, the first flying lap in qualifying, getting a little bit held up with traffic with the Williams car. It wasn't too amazing through turns 1 and 2, so some time to find, I think, as we cross the line then for the first lap down in P5 it is. Splitting the 2 Red Bulls for now, Carlos Sainz and Gasly. Soon it'll be Van Dorn, the one right behind me, but then we go through for a second flyer, and a little bit better through the opening turns, and then a lot better through the middle sector, not getting held up so much by any traffic. You can see on the mini-map, it's a pretty ghost track at the moment there on the mini-map, as everyone's already coming to the pit lane for their first flying lap, and so we come through towards the line. It will be a massive improvement for us, and we're up into P2 at the moment, but then that drops down to P6 at the end of the session to go for a third flying lap. So usually I've only got 2 laps in most of the qualifying sessions so far in Season 8, but I had time to go out for a third one, and we're down to P6 from P2, so I think there was still time to find, and there was, to my surprise, as we go through now the last chicane pretty nicely on that last corner, and then to the line at the moment. Carlos Sainz ahead of us across the line, and we go back up into P2 then. So we were P2, P6, back to P2 right at the end there, and we're oh so close to Fernando Alonso. And you can see our teammate Leclerc just behind Gasly in P4, ahead of Carlos Sainz in P5, so a very good day in the office for not only me, but the team as a whole. It seems like the car has some very decent pace in it, and the likes of Mercedes were a little bit further back than I thought they would be, and also the other Renault of Lewis Hamilton really did not perform compared to his teammate. Abysmal qualifying, really, if you think about it. Relative performances the last couple of episodes in this season, it's always been the 2 Renaults locking out the front row, but Hamilton nowhere near the front row this time around, so I think he might have made a mistake perhaps, but this bodes well then for the race tomorrow. So let's just go to the grid, and this could be a really good race for us.
Good afternoon from a very familiar setting. It's race day here in Spain, and with everything still to play for in the championship battle, there's no room for mistakes in a Grand Prix that's well known for creating them. The 2.89 miles of the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya will push the cars to their limits through the 7 lefts and 9 rights that make up a total of 16 corners. Watch out for overtakes down the main straight and into the first turn. This is where the drivers will get best use out of their DRS this weekend. Anthony Davidson joins me again for the race today. Let's talk about Haas. We have a number of changes to the aerodynamic regulations this year, and the signs haven't looked good for them so far in terms of getting to grips with those changes.
There are a few downcast looks within the team this weekend. I think they've been hit fairly hard by the new regs.
And with that then, let's take a look at the starting grid ahead of this Spanish Grand Prix for Season 8 of my F1 2018 career mode. On pole position then, the man on fine form this season so far from the majority, Fernando Alonso on pole alongside myself on the front row. Third place is Pierre Gasly, my former championship rival from last season, alongside my teammate Charles Leclerc. Carlos Sainz and Hamilton next, with Verstappen and Ocon on the next row. Ricciardo and Rosberg round out the top 10. Van Dorn, Vettel, then Brendan Hartley and Kevin Magnussen P13-14, with Hülkenberg down in P15 with a penalty. Bottas P16 with Sergio Perez 17th, Lance Stroll 18th, and the last row of the grid reserved for Kimi Raikkonen and Romain Grosjean in the Haas with a grid penalty. So here we are on the front row then for the Spanish Grand Prix. So we're going from strength to strength. Last episode, Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Obviously, if you got this far, spoiler alert, it was a great episode for us. Great race. We won that Grand Prix. And now we're on the front row, and we could try and take the fight straight to Fernando Alonso for the first time, really, this season. Going to be a two-stop strategy. Super soft to 2 sets of soft tyres. And we might have a bit of an undercut going on there on the first stint, perhaps, depending on the tyre wear. But here we go to 5 red lights for the Spanish Grand Prix. Can we break Fernando Alonso's momentum once again again here in Catalonia. 5 red lights are out and we're underway, and it's a stonking getaway in first gear there for us alongside the Spaniard. Then the run to turn 1, but then the Renault acceleration kicks in the higher gears. He's back up into first place. We're a little bit defensive and actually swamped down the inside of turn 1 as my teammate Leclerc has a dive, and he's now side by side as we go through turn 3 with the Red Bull Honda of Pierre Gasly. That is on the outside, the French, and those two make some contact and go side by side and tussle through that next section there, and Leclerc has got the move made and he's up into P3. So already a great getaway then from Leclerc to get 1 place. We tried to get Alonso there. Looked quite likely. I was very happy with the start we got, but then as we kicked into 5th and 6th gear, the Renault just took off like a rocket ship and Alonso was back into P1. But now we go chasing after him, and this is where the cat and mouse game begins as we're into turn 1, pressurising Alonso there. He goes a little bit defensive and we put him off a tad, but nothing comes of it at the moment, but just keeping the pressure on here and trying to make sure he knows we're there in the mirrors. We now move on to the end of that lap, on to lap number 3, and this time though we got a really good slingshot there and we might have a chance here, so in a purple lap time, both of us pushing each other for fast laps of the Grand Prix. And here we go with no DRS here, just pure slipstream and power. Down the inside we go, but a little bit deep, and Alonso has the switchback line round the outside of turn 2 to the inside of turn 3. It's very fine margins between myself and Fernando Alonso, my former teammate from the McLaren days in season 3, if you remember. And now to the end of sector 1, trying to hang it round the outside. The long way round this is. It's going to be a very tough order as Alonso squeezes us nearly right to the line on the grass there. We're on the inside now for the next left-hander down the hill. A lock up on the front left causes us to go a little bit wide, and Alonso has that initial acceleration there, but we have the grip in the corner, mid-corner. Our chassis is very strong around here, so we're still neck and neck now, just grazing the grass once again. Very wide though, up the hill, nearly, well, completely off circuit there, across the white line as Alonso and myself really push ourselves to the limit around the Circuit of Catalonia here. To the inside though, into sector 3, lock up on the front left, but we have the space, we have the track position, and we're up into first place. A little bit wide though on the next right, and Alonso, you can see the proximity arrow, keeps his nose in there, but eventually we get it to the inside and we're going to go over the bumps and maintain this first place. And now Leclerc is right up the chuff. Indeed, the entire top 5 or 6 is right up the chuff, and there's a big train now forming, as that was a big fight between myself and Alonso there. We both slowed each other up so much, and now Alonso goes for the move with DRS on the right hand side, and Leclerc comes out of nowhere now on the left as well. 3 wide into turn 1. We back out that though very early because Leclerc makes some contact with Alonso. Alonso locked up there, smoke coming off of either side of the Renault car, and he's lucky to escape with no more further damage. He's down to P3, and so now to 1-2 for the Alfa Romeo racing team. Absolutely wonderful stuff here at the Spanish Grand Prix. Leclerc with a great double overtake that was into turn 1 to get the lead, and he did the job at fending off Alonso, and Alonso might be limping a little bit now as he's defending from, I think that's Pierre Gasly, still in P4 in the reverse of the two Red Bull Hondas, as now we try and pressurise Leclerc then, trying to get this first place back from our teammate. Obviously it might be a bit of a calmer affair perhaps, battling my teammate for first place, so we're just keeping the pressure on now, up the hill now, down the back straight. He's locked up badly. We see that early enough to go down the inside, break early and nip to the inside, but Leclerc comes back at us. We're giving him the respect and the room he deserves as our teammate there, and so we're still squabbling for track position, but we just about get that now, down the right-hander, up into first place, and now we swiftly move on to lap number 6. We're actually coming for our first pit stop then, so we did get first place there. A bad mistake for Leclerc there. I guess, like I said, putting him under pressure. He maybe felt the pressure a little bit too much there and just made a mistake not only half a lap later after he got into the lead of the Grand Prix. He's in the lead back now at the moment, as I've come in for an earlier pit stop on lap 6 compared to maybe he's going to come in on the next lap or lap 8 perhaps. We come out now in pretty clean air. You've got the Haas battling the McLaren there. The Force India will come around on the left-hand side, so we'll just be behind him. So we're going to have to try and overtake him as fast as we can. Valtteri Bottas, there is the Finn in the Force India car, but meanwhile, a purple lap time there for Pierre Gasly. He's altered pit early, so clearly a lot of time to be found with the undercut potentially. So we go down the inside. It's a nice little move on the Finn, and now we can get going with a decent amount of clean air here, try and push on and maintain the lead we had on Leclerc and Fernando Alonso. And down the main straight we go. There you can see on the mini-map there's that maroon dot of Leclerc. We're back past him there, and so he will be in a net P2. I'll be in a net P1. You should kind of think and hope, I guess, unless Fernando Alonso pulls something crazy out the bag. But now we're going to close up on Magnussen and the McLaren of, I think that is Brendan Hartley, I think, as that was Gasly then setting another fast lap of the Grand Prix. So Red Bull Honda might have some decent race pace in it compared to its qualifying time, but for now we get held up massively by Magnussen here, my old teammate from season 1 and 2 in the Haas car. We go for the nice little straighten the car a little bit faster there, go for the wider line on the entry and then tighten up on the exit, and that really allowed us to catapult the car through on the left hand side ahead of Magnussen. And now up the hill, keeping it tight, and we really get some good downforce compared to the McLaren there. Up the hill, DRS open there, we'll go to the outside, Hartley goes defensive there, and so this is a long-term setup for the next corner, the next section on the right hand side to the inside now for the next right-hander, and that's the place where we want to be as we can squeeze out the Kiwi man in the McLaren. And we're up into P6 now. Van Dorn ahead of us in the Toro Rosso car. I think the Toro Rosso is going quite long as we now go through the main straight into turn 1, and Leclerc maintains that position on Fernando Alonso as well. So Fernando will be in a net P3, that is still with Gasly, despite all this fast laps of the Grand Prix, seems to be nowhere near us actually, that Red Bull Honda, so he's still back in a net P4, but at the moment on track is actually a 1-2 for the Toro Rosso gang of Van Dorn and Sergei Sorokin as we now move on to lap 11, and we're closing up now to this pair, the first one being Van Dorn, then DRS shutting into turn 1, and we're closing nicely up, so into sector 1, the end of it perhaps we could make a move, trying to line up this path through turn 3, dancing the car left and right. Now here we go, lovely little slingshot that was on the outside there, the long way around, purple first sector whilst doing it, and we're going to just about feed it through, and we're up into second place now. Very nice move on Van Dorn, and we'll go chasing after the Russian in first place in that Toro Rosso car. Meanwhile, fight behind us of Alonso and Leclerc. Alonso with DRS on the left-hand side on the outside of turn 1. Leclerc goes defensive there, the two side by side. Very nice move there for Alonso, nips it to the inside, and he's up into, well, effectively what will be P2 eventually, as these guys, hopefully the Toro Rossos will get out of the way eventually with a pit stop, or either just being overtaken straight outright as Alonso goes for a move down the inside. Will Leclerc be able to nip to the inside? No, it's a mistake for Alonso. Oh, it's a bad mistake for Alonso. And no, instead of him overtaking the Toro Rosso and Leclerc having to try and maybe attack the Toro Rosso car, he's already got past Alonso then with that mistake the Spaniard made, and now he's gone for the dive around the outside there. Leclerc again. How many times have we talked about Leclerc being so good on these dives for like the last season and a half of this is, and now down the inside he goes, and he's made it work. A double pass then in a sector for Leclerc to get up into P3 on track, and it will soon be hopefully P2, as I'll hopefully be having a go at Sorokin pretty darn soon. But wonderful racing there for Leclerc, and a bad mistake for Fernando Alonso as we move on now to chase after Sorokin. It's going to be a very easy pass in a straight line though with DRS there, so not too much drama in my world in terms of taking the race lead here, but I kind of like it that way, a bit less drama, and we can try and get away now and try to build a gap to Leclerc and Alonso. But meanwhile those two keep on fighting there, and Alonso coming through now like a rocket ship with DRS once again, and it's a bit of deja vu here in the commentary box as we see Alonso go around the outside to the inside of turn 2 to nip it again to the inside there, but this time Leclerc comes back. Actually, no, I lied. Leclerc comes through and still sticks his nose in, so he fights back, and it's a great scrap there, side by side through the entirety of turn 3. Did not expect that. I thought that was going to be a carbon copy of what Alonso did earlier, but no, great, good on Leclerc. He defends well and keeps that P3 on track as they both catch up to the Toro Rosso car now. They've caught him right up there. Sorokin will be very vulnerable, but he might even come in, you know, because I think it's soon time for the Toro Rosso pit stops, and I think he has come in, and so yeah, it's going to be a 1-2 for ALFA Romeo Racing once again at the Spanish Grand Prix. But for how long? Because Alonso now is going to have free reign to come through. Both of them sparking away into turn 1. Leclerc goes defensive, and Alonso for the third time now around the outside. A lock up though from Leclerc, bit of contact there, and so Alonso just about manages to skin his way through up into P2 there. That could have ended in turmoil for both drivers there, the amount of big contact they made into the apex there. So Leclerc has to live to fight another day in P3 then. So Alonso right now being the only thorn in the perfect ALFA Romeo Racing race and story here at the Spanish Grand Prix. We now come in for our second pit stop. It's getting a bit cloudy, you know, so there might be some rain to come because it is looking very overcast compared to as it was earlier on at the very start of the Grand Prix. But we're in then for our second stop, like I said. Another set of soft tyres. This will be to the end of the Grand Prix, but you never know. Like I said, maybe there's another third pit stop to come for intermediates if it gets darker and starts raining enough towards the end. So far, my engineer hasn't talked about rain, but clearly, visually speaking, it's getting a lot gloomier and a little bit more depressing here at the Circuit of Catalonia. But we come out in plenty of clean air, and we can just get going, get pushing, and maintain the gap and lead we had to Alonso and Leclerc. And he's hoping Leclerc can do something on the undercut, perhaps, to try and catch up to Alonso. I don't know when he's pitting exactly. Let's see as we go down the main straight now onto lap 21. There is Leclerc coming out of the pit lane. Alonso is yet to pit, so Leclerc again going for another undercut like me. So here's hoping, fingers crossed, that can be a good undercut for him, because here comes Alonso now into the pit stops now, the very next lap after that, and he's on for another set of soft tyres then. And so let's see, wait and wonder, where's that maroon car going to be of Leclerc? I think there he is. I think that is Leclerc down the straight. Yes, it is, because I just went out shot then, and that is Charles Leclerc in second place. DRS closing, and he's up into P2. Alonso down to P3. That's actually a really good undercut and a horrendous pit stop phase there for Alonso. He's lost a lot of time to Leclerc there. So now joyous scenes as once again it's a 1-2 for ALFA ROMEO Racing and the Spanish Grand Prix. That'll be quite something here. Start of the season way down the order in the pecking order, and now at the Spanish Grand Prix, 5 races later, we're right up here challenging for the race wins and good podiums. So we now close up to the lap car, the Williams car, and it's getting very, very dark indeed. And I think my engineer has actually said right now the rain is coming in about 10 minutes time, so that might be just about as we enter the last few stages of the Grand Prix, as Alonso sets a fast after the Grand Prix. So Alonso is pushing very hard in P3 to catch up to my teammate in second place, but the rain is coming. It remains to be seen when it's coming, but it might be sooner rather than later, as it gets very, very dark now, and pretty much the rain clouds are in the air as Alonso now goes around the outside for the 4th time now, I feel, in this Grand Prix. And this time it's a fairly easy move, as Leclerc, I think, is struggling for some grip as it's getting a little bit slimy out there as the rain starts to fall a little bit and the surface just gets a little bit, greasy, as it were, mid-apex. You can see now the spray is coming off the front tyres a little bit there, and it's getting a little bit hard to keep the thing on the track properly as we make a mistake on the left-hander, locking up and sliding around quite a lot into the apex there. Looking behind me frantically now as Alonso and Leclerc are both catching me. The AI are very good in these damp conditions compared to the player in general consensus, and so we go on towards the last lap of the Grand Prix, and Alonso is very much within 1 second of me. DRS is still available though, and so we got DRS off that lap car, but Alonso is so close to us. He's going to go for a move. We've squeezed him off, and we're going to fend off that inside line. He's going to have to go to the outside for the 5th time now in this Grand Prix, but unlike Leclerc, we're able to defend quite well into turn 2, into turn 3. We're going to swoop it around and try and get a tight entry into that apex, try and find some grip, find some temperature in these tyres. The Force India car though has to try and get out of the way. Blue flags for a few corners, and oh, what on earth is Perez doing? You've been blue flagged for 5 corners now, and now you've taken out a lot of my front wing cascade element there. On the front left, you can see the difference from left to right. We've got a huge chunk of the front wing off. Raikkonen is out of this Grand Prix in the Williams car. The blue flag car is still out there, and Perez dives out the way for Alonso. Of course he does, and now we're in first place, a sector to go, but we've got so little downforce now. Alonso goes for a move on the outside. We go very defensive to the inside there. DRS, I think, was still available for Alonso there. You can see the spray being kicked up. We defend Alonso just about with our lives, and Leclerc now has a look around the outside to maybe get a late P2. Does it? No, it's not. Alonso maintains that, and you can see clearly the speed difference mid-apex. I'm limping around the last 2-3 corners there through the last chicane. We are just about going to survive this on the last lap of the Grand Prix. We're going to come through for the win at the Spanish Grand Prix. I didn't say it last time, but I'm going to say it this time. Grazie ragazzi, forza Alfa Romeo.
Fantastic. It's a brilliant result. Well done.
Brilliant stuff from Sauber today. What a superb victory. So, Ant, how exactly did they set themselves apart from the pack today?
I think a large part of the result comes down to temperament. They were able to keep their heads when everyone around them was losing theirs, and that's allowed them to get the best out of the car, to maximise the strategy and to stay out of trouble.
2 wins on the trot. The tides are turning here this season. Fernando Alonso won the first 3. We won the next 2 there, round 4 and round 5. The Azerbaijan Grand Prix and the Spanish one. And this time we took the fight properly to Alonso. Last race, Alonso had issues, and so that was a fairly easy fight and not really a fair one. This one, Alonso had no car issues throughout this entire Grand Prix. We took it to him, and we've done it first place. And if it wasn't for maybe, you know, Leclerc and the slippery conditions, Leclerc could have got second place maybe and made it a 1-2, but still last 1-3 for Alfa Romeo Racing. That is absolutely awesome considering where we were at the very start of the season. The Alfa Romeo funding, the extra backing has really paid off dividends, and I'm sure the higher-ups will be very happy at Alfa Romeo. But you can see there, second place, then we're closing up Alonso. There's still so much to go though. Alonso had such an advantage from those first 3 wins that there's still so many points to make up there despite having 2 wins in a row. Which is usually quite a big deal, but there's still so much to go there. Second place in the Constructors as well, consolidating that and still trying our best to keep the pressure on Renault. But obviously Renault have been very consistent up until now. But really now, you know, with Hamilton nowhere to be seen that Grand Prix, maybe now is the start of having Renault be a bit of a shaky factor in this season. You never know. We'll have to kind of see and kind of monitor that situation as we go on. But guys, if you did enjoy that video, then be sure to smash that like button. Let me know your thought in the comments below. If you are new around here, do subscribe for weekly full-on content. And so that is how the season's gone so far, and I'm very excited to see how the rest of the European season's going to go now, because I feel like we're building a lot of good momentum. But until next time, guys, hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.